and I'm glad to see so many of you have come out on another nice, cold January evening to hear about course selection. Our plan for this evening is to begin here in a general session with everyone, and then after we've done the general presentation, we're going to break out into groups. Parents of current 9th graders, I'll ask you to remain right here. Parents of current 10th graders will move over to the Audion in the front of the building. Parents of current 11th will move back here to the band room. By now, you probably know where the band room is. Parents of gifted students, if you have any questions for the gifted folks, they'll be over in E22. As we're coming in this evening, you probably noticed in our hallway that there were tables being set up, and there were banners on each one listing the names of the departments. Following the general sessions and the breakout sessions, we will have department chairs available out in the hallway here in the concourse and in the main lobby in order to answer any questions that you may have about course sequencing, about curriculum, any specific questions for any of the department chairs. We'll also have representatives from the tech school right here in the main lobby, right in front of the train that you see coming through the wall there. The tech school's there, JROTC is out there. We have a table for concurrent enrollment. And I'll remind you, if you're interested in concurrent enrollment, we have a meeting for parents on that next Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock in the Audion. So a lot going on. Folks, when you've heard what you think you need to hear and you've heard everything, whether you're in a breakout session, feel free to leave. No one's Velcroed to the chairs here until the program's over. But you're welcome to stay for as long as you want as well. So some of you say, I've heard the general session, I want to go talk to a department chair, or I don't need to go to my breakout session by grades. That will be up to you. We view those mainly as a Q&A type session. So in here, I figure the biggest group I'll probably have are the incoming 10th grade parents, so that's why we will stay in here. All right. Course selection time. We start the end of January. If you've noticed, we moved into the 3rd marking period on Tuesday of this week. So as soon as we pass that halfway point in the year, we get to the point of beginning to think about and beginning to plan for next year. And that's where course selection comes in. Your sons and daughters should have received their program of studies. At the middle schools, at the high school, we gave them all out yesterday. So they have the program of studies. If you lose it, it's online, so don't worry about it. You can access it again, but hopefully you won't lose it. And hopefully you'll use the pages at the very back of that to serve as a worksheet. We are going to be doing electronic course selection this year for all of our current 10th, current 11th, and my understanding is that Penndale of the middle schools is going to pilot the electronic course selection for the grade 9 coming to 10 students. The other 2 middle schools are not. So they will still be seeing course cards. What this means is that teachers will be putting recommendations into the system in the next week, week and a half. And then February 9 and 10, students are going to be able to go in and pick what they want. They'll see their teacher's recommendations, but they will be able to select the courses they want for next year. They'll have until the morning of Friday, the 13th of February, and then that access will shut down. In the past, as parents, you were able to see what your sons and daughters picked when you had the course card. Well, with no course card, when that goes away, you're not going to have that. But here's what you do have. You will have access through your student home access account, the student hack accounts, and that will be there. They won't be able to change anything, but you'll be able to see what they've picked. So you won't have to wait till that 3rd marking period report card comes, because we don't send them anymore. And that's when we used to send the verification sheets. And we also sent another verification in June. And right now, and that's right now, we're not planning to do that because you're going to be able to see what your sons and daughters have picked on hack. We may change our mind, but we always have to worry about funds, and postage is expensive. So after all that, we make decisions. Once the students have made their picks, we make decisions on staffing for next year, on the numbers and courses and the numbers of sections that we're going to offer. For that reason, we allow students to continue making changes if they want up until a certain point. And that point is June 12th. At the end of the school year, the high school will not allow any course or level changes after that, because we need to build a master schedule, and it's built around what the student picks are. We start fresh every year. We start with new data, but it's got to be accurate data, and it can't keep changing, or we can't build a master schedule that's going to work the way it needs to work. So we do not allow any changes after that point. You have the next 4.5 months to make all the changes you want. Up the level, down the level, take a look. You know, you can do the override if you have to. Change the electives, all of that. But all those options go away after June 12th. So I want you to know right now with the end in mind. Okay, first question, what's new for next year? Parents of current 9th graders will have been watching the curriculum in social studies change over the last few years. And your sons and daughters are sitting in America in History 2 right now. That sequence will continue when they move to 10th grade. For many, many years, 10th grade at North Penn High School meant world cultures and social studies. World cultures is going away at the end of this year. And ultimately, it will be replaced down the road in another year or so by world history, but not right now. So world cultures is going away, and when it goes away, students coming in next year will take American History 3 and complete that sequence. And then ultimately, when they're juniors, the plan is to bring in world history, which is somewhat different than world cultures. So that's one of the big changes. I've cautioned the students who are sitting in that course right now that hopefully you pass it, but if you don't, you need to get an E, and you need to go to summer school this year for it, because if you don't, you're going to end up having to take another course completely rather than remediate it through summer school, because the last option on remediation on that would be this summer as well. The Child Development and Preschool Lab are both courses in the Family and Consumer Science Department. For many, many years, they've been offered at both the 5.0 and the 4.0 levels. The 4.0 is going away. Only the 5.0 will be offered next year. And what we have found is most of the students who take the 4.0 are probably capable of doing the 5.0. So rather than give them those choices, it's kind of forcing them into the 5.0. Our engineering design and development class, you'll hear kids talk about it as the EDD course. It's the capstone course in tech ed in our engineering academy. And 2 years ago, we began moving that class to 70 minutes per period, per cycle, or per day. And what that means is kids are in that class for a period and a half, and we back it up to lunch and embed their lunch right in that. The good news there, these kids work really hard, and they're into some amazing technology. And we've looked at it and we said, you know what, that course is a whole lot harder than a 5.0 course, because that's what it's been for many years. And so next year, that's going to move to the honors level, and it's the first one in the engineering academy that's moving to the honors level. In the science department, we're beginning an evolution and a change here. We're introducing AP Physics 1 and AP Physics C Mechanics. Complex title. The AP Physics course that we have been offering for years is not going away right away, but it will. We're going to run it one more year. The kids who are currently in 11th grade and have been planning to take that AP Physics course are going to continue to take that. But the plan in the future is it will be replaced by 2 AP Physics courses, the AP Physics C Mechanics, and there'll be another one, AP Electricity and Magnetism, down the road. That's going to be a year or so away, so that students can take more depth on the physics course, and it'll give them multiple options on the AP Physics. We're going to have quite a few AP Physics classes and courses, certainly, running next year. The one that's been in existence is an 8-period per cycle class. The new ones coming in are 7 periods a cycle, but realize that the AP Physics C up there is, the mechanics is ultimately going to be followed by another one. So students will be able to take it for 2 years, 7 periods per cycle each year. The other one is, just one more thing. The AP Physics 1, you're sitting there saying, well, what's that for? That's really for the non-science majors who want to take an AP Physics course. It is algebra-based, but don't be fooled to thinking that you can just jump into the algebra class and then jump from there into physics. It's still going to be physics, and the recommendation is that students who are doing that should be taking pre-calculus at the same time. It's not going to be easy, but it's not going to be as heavy. The other course is calculus-based. We're telling the students, listen to the recommendations of your science teachers. The science teachers understand the sequencing on this and where it is and where it's going. They'll be able to guide your sons and daughters with the appropriate recommendations. Continuing on, one little thing, we've changed one of the icons in there. We've updated it, made a little donut out of it to try to come up with a new icon that would work. If you see that next to a course, it's a course that meets 12 periods a cycle. We've had Read 180 classes. We have an Algebra 1 BK, it's called, and that meets 12 periods a cycle. Most of those 12 period per cycle classes, or actually all of them, are remediation courses. And students find themselves in those courses as they prepare for the Keystone exams. A couple other things, they're sort of new. The NSP1, the NSP8, that's for seniors. No school period 1, no school period 8. It's another way of saying late arrival, early dismissal. And seniors can earn that. We haven't put it in the program of studies. We've piloted it for the last 2 or 3 years. We finally now added it to the program of studies. Students who want that need to select it at course selection time. It doesn't carry any credit, but it needs to go on the card. It needs to go on the card so that we know, here's a student who might be taking AP Physics. They don't want to come to school for period 1. I've got to get that code in there so I don't put the AP Physics class in first period and then they're not able to get it. So those codes are in there. And of course, the reference up here is on page 10. Electronic course selection, we began this a couple of years ago. We have been doing it with the with the 10th grade coming to 11th. 11 to 12 is a much more complex and complicated venture. So what we've done, we've said, it's time. We're taking the step up, and everybody in the high school will do the electronic course selection. I talked a little bit about that earlier, and I've mentioned also that it's going to be for the Penndale students as well. And you come back in a year and you'll hear that it's getting expanded to the other 2 schools once we've tried it out at Penndale. And the other thing up there is something totally new. I've been listening to students say, I hate getting up so early in the morning to go to the high school. And for those who don't know it, high school starts at 7:21, first period in the morning, not homeroom, we don't have homeroom. First period in the morning is 7:21. We have a lot of sleepy-eyed kids walking around, but they get here, and they're on time, but they don't all like it. So they've said, can't we have a later start somehow? And the seniors go, no way, we've worked hard for this no school period 1, don't give it to them. We're going to give it a try. We're going to give it a try to 10th and 11th graders for next year. The code for that is going to be NCP1, no courses, no classes, period 1. And here's the thing. We need students to select it at course selection time to see if it's going to work for them. What it looks like is this. Students will have to provide their own transportation to school, and on Monday, they should get here by about 8:05 each day. But that works when I talk to parents. Parents go, oh, I'm on the way to work, and I can go by the high school, and I could drop them off. So for a lot of folks, that works. Not everybody. This wasn't intended to work for everybody, but it's to create options for some. How do they get home? We have late buses on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So we said, you know what? If we just keep them here until about 3:35 in class on those 3 days, we'll get the equivalent of 5 days of school over the course of the week, and they can get a ride home so mom and dad can be at work, and they don't have to worry about the kids getting home because the late buses leave here at 4 o'clock. So we offered this as an option. Here's what needs to happen, though. You need to pick a class that is 6 periods per cycle. That's got to be in your schedule. I can't do the lab sciences, and I can't do the 8-period configurations. But for the students who have a 5-period per cycle English, or 6-period per cycle English, a 6-period per cycle social studies, or even a 6-period per cycle biology, this can work for them. It's not going to work if your son or daughter is an athlete. Practices are right after school. So it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't work for everybody, but I'm about creating options here. But if your child's not an athlete and they don't have club and activity meetings right after school, and they like to sleep a little bit longer, it's an option. Right now, I have no clue how many sections of this, but I do have teachers who are willing to work on a staggered schedule that would allow this to happen. Some of them have several children of their own, and they've got childcare issues in the morning, getting the kids off to daycare or whatever, and then being here so that they're in class by 7:21. So they'd like to be able to get here a little later, a few of them. And so that gives me the opportunity to make this as an offering. Just something for consideration, and you'll find it on page 10 in the program of studies. As you approach this whole thing about course selection, what should my son or daughter be taking? What should they be doing? Folks, think about it this way. If you load them up with the most credits they can take in 10th and 11th grade, and even 9th grade, maximize their credits then, it creates openings for options in senior year. That no school period 1, no school period 8 can be an option. Work and career study can be an option. Concurrent enrollment can be an option. Young folks who box themselves into corners by taking the minimal number of credits each year, and if they run into academic difficulty with one of them and don't pass a course somewhere and don't go to summer school, can really get themselves into a credit bind. We urge them not to do that. Fill those schedules up as much as you can in grades 9, 10, and 11 to create the options, A, if you need to do some remediation, A, if you need to have some options available to you senior year. Who knows? Somebody may want to go over and do some dual enrollment classes at one of the colleges and universities or a concurrent enrollment course. So all of those are things that can happen in senior year. Some classes meet, not all classes meet 6 periods per cycle. Pretty much in the middle schools, although they have moved into some of the extended classes now. Most of their classes meet either they have the minors, which isn't a problem, or they have majors which meet 6 periods a cycle. We have majors that meet 6 periods a cycle. We have some that meet 7 periods a cycle. We've got some that meet 8 periods a cycle. And you've heard me say that there are even a few that meet 12 periods a cycle. So you've got to kind of watch as you're picking your courses and credits that you don't exceed the 42 periods per cycle, which is the maximum that any student should be scheduling. I've talked all about those. The examples are up there, and they're certainly all marked in the program of studies. I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention. Keystones. Keystones, keystones, keystones. You've been hearing a lot about keystones. For the class of 2017 and beyond, that includes 2018 ad infinitum apparently, students are going to have to be Keystone proficient on algebra, literature, and biology as a state-required graduation requirement. The state says, North Penn High School, you can't keep graduating kids who are not proficient on the state tests. The days of saying they're North Penn proficient are over. And it's not just North Penn, it's every school. So for the classes of 2017, and that means anyone who's currently a sophomore moving into junior year, and everyone beyond their younger brothers and sisters, Keystone proficiency is required as graduation. We hope your sons and daughters will be proficient, but the reality is that everybody isn't the first time they take the test. What are their options? First option, and probably the best option, is to get into a summer intervention and remediation course and retake the Keystone in the summer. But that is only open to your sons and daughters who test in the basic range. If they test below basic, we certainly hope they won't, but some kids do. If they test in the below basic range, the summer intervention option is not an option because they just have too many deficiencies for us to fix in the summertime. We've been running the summer intervention option for the last 2 years, and about 2 out of every 3 students come back proficient after about 8 or 9 sessions with the teachers on the intervention thing. So the summer intervention option is a good option. Again, we offer it to kids who are already in the high basic range. We call you during the summer. We don't get the results from the May testing until July, and the summer intervention has to happen in July, and then this summer Keystone is usually the very last 2 days in July or the last day of July and the first day of August. Tight turnaround times. I'm telling you now, just in case you get one of those phone calls in July saying, we got the information back and your son or daughter is really in the high basic range, please consider summer intervention. If not, if you don't do the summer intervention, there are required courses that you have to go into. What you see up here on the slide, there's a ton of information packed on there. Basically, what it boils down to is this. If your child is proficient or advanced on the keystone, they're done with that keystone. If it happens in 7th grade in algebra, great. If it's not until 8th grade or 9th grade, still great because they're done with it. As soon as they test at the proficient level in that subject area, they don't have to worry about the keystones in that subject area again. We give the bio and the literature keystones at the end of 10th grade, in May of 10th grade. And they still have 11th grade to get themselves squared away if they're not, and even 12th grade. In literature, it's, if you don't make it, you don't do the summer intervention, you just move on to the next English course, unless when we're looking at the reading levels, we say, if we're looking at that Lexile level, and the Lexile level is not up in the 1200 range. If it's below that, we may have to put them in a reading intervention program in order to bring that Lexile level up. So be aware of that. The biology, summer intervention is one option. If not, students move into a selected topics in biology course in junior year, and at the end of that, it's a semester course, then we give them the keystone again. We've had amazingly great results with that as well. So that becomes the intervention course there. Keystone math. When you came in this evening, there were some handouts out on the table right behind the showcase here, behind the auditorium. There was a pink handout, and there was a blue handout, and there was a buff one. The buff one was really just the agenda for this evening. But the pink and the blue are ones you want to take home, because the pink and the blue will tell you how leveling is being recommended. The blue one is for math, and you'll see the sequence. On the one side, it shows all of the math courses in the sequence. On the other side, it says, if my child is in this course, and they have this letter grade, and this proficiency status, then here's the next course in the sequence. Let me just try and see if this pointer's going to work. Here's a student up here, grade 9, Algebra 1 Honors, the 2106 course. They got a final grade in the ABCD range, and they were proficient. Great, no problem. They just move right on to geometry at the honors level because that's the next course in the sequence. What happens if they're pulling great grades, but when they get the keystone back, they're in the basic range? What do? Well, first thing I would do is probably put them in the summer intervention program because they passed the course, but they still don't have the proficiency. So we would go to summer intervention as one option. If the family is away all summer or on vacation and can't take advantage of that, then the next thing to do is put the student in the geometry 2205 extended. And if they didn't pass the course and they have the E, of course, anytime we see E's in these classes, we urge students to get to summer school because it recoups the credit. And even one credit can make a big difference when you're moving into senior year. So that's how you read the chart. It's telling you which course is the next one in the sequence and kind of looking at, not all, but many of the possibilities of whether a student, what the grades will be and what the proficiency status would be. Some of you are sitting there saying, I know my child, and math is not their forte. And no matter how much intervention you do, they're going to have an awful time on this test. Is there another way to get them to be proficient? And so, in their wisdom, the state came up with the project-based assessment. But they have some caveats on this. It's an alternative path to proficiency. And what it is, it's an online series of assignments and assessments, and the kids work on that, and at the end of that, there's a project that they have to complete, and if they're successful with that, then the state says, okay. We do not grade that. It's graded by a group of folks outside of North Penn High School. They're employed by the state, so that's the external panel of educators. In order to take the project-based assessment, young folks have to at least try that keystone in that subject at least twice and still come back not proficient. My personal preference, if you're getting them to basic even after twice, I'd give it to them a third time and even a fourth time. Because what I've seen is students continuously improving, and once they're in that basic range, they have a really good shot of getting to proficient. If they're floundering in the below basic range, maybe the project-based assessment is the way to look at it. Nobody in the current, or in the class of 2016 has to worry about this because this only applies to class of 2017 and beyond. Okay, leveling, something else, the big question. My son or daughter's going to the high school, they're sitting in a 5.0, they're sitting in an honors course, they're sitting in a HP class. What level should they take for next year? And I know there are horror stories out there that if you may be in an honors in the middle school, and when you go to the high school and they put you in an honors, look out. Well, folks, please, go back to the other chart, the pink chart that's there, and look at what we've laid out for you is if this is the course they're in the middle school, and these are the grades they're doing, and if you look at how they did on their 8th grade PSSA, and if you look at their midterms, this is a guide. What happened to my... There, we're back, okay. I turned around and it went away, okay. This is a guide, folks. There's nothing that says it's inked in that if you got this grade and you did this, then this is what it has to be. But this is the guide the teachers will be using in making recommendations for your sons and daughters. So take a look at that. It's very easy if you're sitting in HP and you have an A or a B and you did really well back on the 8th grade PSSA and you're doing well in your midterms. Yes, you belong here in honors, not only in English, but in social studies as well. The two of those are both reading-based, so they tend to go hand in hand. For the high school, there is no 4.0 level in math, but we have 4.0 levels still existing in social studies and in science and in English. So be aware of that. The 4.0 level still does exist. In English 10.4.0 meets 8 periods a cycle. The 5.0 is only 6 periods a cycle. The honors is only 6 periods a cycle. Here's the general rule of thumb for leveling. If your son or daughter is pulling an A or an A+, they ought to consider moving up. Now, if they're already in the highest level, there's nowhere to go. If they're pulling an A or an A+, and they've met the prerequisites, they ought to consider challenging themselves and moving up to the next level, if it's possible, if it exists. If they're in a B or a B+, they ought to consider moving up. Why would you consider it? You need to look at why are they getting the B? Are they working up to their potential? Are these kids who are trying their absolute best and they're only getting Bs? Then they probably shouldn't move up. But if they're getting Bs and you know they can do a whole lot better than that, it's worth a try. Here's the caution I'll give you, folks. We've got to get the levels right when they come in here because we have to schedule so tightly, I don't have the room to move them in September or October or in November if they find themselves in trouble. And we're seeing a lot of that this year. The sectioning is so tight, the staffing is so tight, we don't have the room to be able to move kids if they get into the wrong levels. So please be careful on that. Let's see. For math, I've already mentioned this. Take a look at that math chart. Look at the flip side. It shows grade 9. Here are the courses. Here are the exit grades in that course. And here are the next courses in the sequence. The math department holds pretty tight on that because they've taught for so many years. They understand if you're coming out of this course with an A or if you're coming out of that course with a C, and you go into the next course, you're either getting into a place where you can be successful or you're getting into the danger zone. So please, take a look at the math chart and go by that. And of course, Mrs. Wright, our math department chair, will be out in the lobby for any questions that you might have later this evening. Now I'll turn it over to Mrs. Lynn, one of my assistant principals.
Good evening. As we stated earlier this evening, students should have received a copy of the program of studies. It's also available online, and for those of you who wished, it was available outside in the auditorium lobby to pick up. This is a comprehensive document, and we expect you to memorize it. Now, in all honesty, it's over 70 pages in length, and it's filled with a lot of information, and I want to just go over a few of the highlights of it, or how the layout. We've tried to outline the prerequisites in there for you to see. I'm going to jump to the next slide here. About page 14 or so starts a visual representation for you for broken out by each department of the courses that are offered within that department. So this is just a sample from our science department. And we try to give you, as I said, a visual representation of the courses that are offered, the course number. There's this little graduation cap here to the side that tells you if the course for those in the class of 2016 counts as a graduation project, as well as the level of the course, whether it's a full year course, semester course, how many times per cycle it meets. And then it gives you the page number where you can find that in the program of studies. We have a kind of a centerfold for this program of studies where you find the most important information, where we try to summarize. And because we have so much information in this program of studies, it spans over 4 pages, but it's in the center of your program of studies, and we consolidate there so you can see the required courses by grade. For English, Social Studies, you have the America and History 2 for 9th grade, America and History 3 for 10th grade, and so forth. But it also gives you a little legend, so you can see that what courses meet per semester, count towards graduation, et cetera, in there. And again, this is just another example of what that centerfold is. So if you're looking at taking a class in the Family and Consumer Science, you can see that that offers a graduation project in most of their courses. And it tells you if it's a semester course over here in the business department. We have this little symbol there to indicate that. So again, it's just another quick reference. You have it in the front of the book by department, and then this is more of a centerfold. With that, I'm actually going to turn it over to Mr. Travers to talk about credit. Either place. Sorry.
Okay, so you finish your sophomore year. No, so here's what happens. It's very simple. This number doesn't really become a problem for many people because the majority of our students will graduate with anywhere on an average between 24 to almost 26 credits. But just so you know, to earn a North Penn High School diploma, you need 23 credits. The breakdown, as you can see, English, Social Studies, 4 years. Math and Science, it's a total of 7. So it can be 4 in math, 3 in science, 4 in science, 3 in math. Personally, I like to see everybody take math and science every year. The arts and the humanities, the health, the physical education, and then there's room for electives. Okay. Now, credit values. Here's what happens, and you really need to look into the program of studies. Great job by Mrs. Lynn and Mr. Hines putting this together. It really reads well if you read it. So the courses earn anywhere from 0.3 credits to a half a credit. There are some music courses that are 0.7. We have 1.0 courses, and it all ties in with the amount of periods per cycle. 1.15, 1.3, 1.5, and 2. So that's important when you're figuring out your schedule so everything could fit. The promotion requirements are pretty simple. Now again, most 9th graders are going to have over 6 credits, but you have to have a minimum of 4 credits to move from the middle school buildings to our building. Think of it this way. You want to go to 11th grade, you must have a minimum of 11 credits. You must have a minimum of 16.5 credits. Sometimes you'll hear the word retention. Somebody may have completed 10th grade. They have 10 credits on their schedule, and in the system it says they're a 10th grader, but if they do a great job in terms of their, next year, they can actually jump from 10th grade status to 12th grade status. Okay, here's a key thing. When you start thinking of things like honor roll, IFE, ineligible for exclusion, they must be counted in the calculation. So, as we say all the time, your Englishes must always count. And there's a listing of all the courses. I'm not going to bore you with reading it, but the key thing to remember is certain courses, like in math, Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, must be used. Physical science, biology, chemistry must be used. Other ones, not necessarily. Okay. GPA and class rank. Everybody wants to know about this, okay? Our class rank is based on the GPA. The GPA is rounded to the 100th place. That's like 0.00. So it's based on 5 majors. The ones that are ineligible for exclusion must be included in that calculation. Someone asked us a question, well, what about if my course is 1.5 credits or 1.3? When you're looking at ranking, everything's just considered as 1, okay? And the key thing that we like for your students when they're applying to colleges and universities and schools, their grades in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade are calculated in their GPA and rank, as well as their 12th. Okay. Here's a key thing here. This comes up every year. If you think your son or daughter, and again, it doesn't mean they have to, but you think there's a possibility that they would like to continue their athletic career at the collegiate level, at the Division I or Division II level, then you really need to pay attention to the courses that they take. Every school is required to put the courses up through the NCAA, and they say, yes, this is considered a core course. In our program of studies, you see a little running figure next to courses. All our Englishes are good, our maths, our science, but you got to look for the little running figure. That tells you if that course counts. If you have any questions on that, I'm your person to contact. Okay, this is what a transcript looks like normally. It's a little stretched out. But you can see this is what we send out to the colleges and universities, okay? And it's wonderful. And for the purposes of honor roll, okay, no weighting involved in honor roll. Everything's based on a 4.3, 4 for an A, and so forth. All courses are counted in the calculation for honor roll. Okay, that's an important thing, not for GPA and rank. And lastly, I think is distinguished honor roll, 3.8 or higher. And somebody with all A pluses could get an 4.3. Regular honor roll, 3.0 to 3.79. And with that, we want to turn it over to Mr. AP himself, Mr. Neil Brockstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Travers. I am Neil Brockstrom, Assistant Principal from Home Office E112, and one of my chief responsibilities here at the high school is the AP Coordinator. I had the pleasure of speaking to some of you earlier this evening about our AP program, but I'd like to continue a little bit more information. We're extremely proud of our AP program here and our students. We have currently about 700 plus students enrolled in AP courses right now. Last year, we gave 1,400 exams, and our students, this is pretty impressive, 87% of our students that took those exams scored at least a 3 or higher. So they do really well when they take those exams. The rigor and the readiness for college is where I like to stress in terms of our AP courses. AP courses are courses that are offered here at the high school at the college level. They're typically representative of your introductory courses at the college level. For example, like an AP Psychology and AP Calc would be equivalent to taking an introductory AP Calc or psychology course at the college level. The best thing students get out of the AP program, I would really argue, is the experience. They really truly get to embed themselves in a collegiate community, that expectation for their writing, their reading, and their independent academic studies really starts to prepare them and get them ready for the college level. We offer 26 courses. Some of those courses have multiple exams connected to them. For example, we have an AP Economics up there. It's listed macro, micro. There's actually 2 what we call AP exams connected to that. Each course has a specific syllabus that's audited by AP, who is sponsored by the College Board. And then there's a culminating exam that I've referenced multiple times at the end of that course that demonstrates a student's mastery of that course content. And like I said, some of these courses have multiple exams. Given that students take these AP exams in May, depending on the student's grade and their participation in the AP exam, they can exempt themselves for the final in that course. So for example, if a student's taking AP Spanish, they elect to take the AP Spanish exam, and they also earn a B or higher in that course. They do not take the final exam in that course, so that is another benefit. And again, we do our testing in May. So I will be in the lobby. If you have any additional questions about AP, I'll be more than willing to speak to you about them. Summer assignments. built on the philosophy that over the summer, there's always the potential that students' academic and their reading levels can, and the research has shown there's a little bit of a drag, a little bit of fallback in terms of their academic ability. So built on that philosophy, many of our classes have developed summer assignments. All of our English courses have those summer assignments, including those at Northbridge. Those students even enrolled in our Read 180 courses or language arts courses, they all have summer reading assignments. We don't want that reading piece to lag over the summer. Also, many of our AP courses will offer summer assignments because remember that shortened curriculum time frame, they have an AP exam in May. A lot of those classes want to hit the ground running with the course content starting with that first day. Often do in the first opening days of September. They will be posted after June 1st on the website. Look for that little icon referenced on the PowerPoint, and they're also found on page 12. They do count as a portion of the first marking period grade, 10% in the English classes. Other courses, it may not be that specific, but it does have a weighting in each first marking period. Typically, there's a writing assignment that goes along with that, and typically some form of assessment the teacher connects to that reading assignment. Again, thank you, and Mrs. Judy Turner for Home Office A32.
Hi, I'm Judy Turner and Home Office A32. I'm also the liaison to the tech school. The North Monco Technical Career Center is where our students in grades 9 through 12 go to receive vocational technical and career opportunities. They go there with students from other high schools. Included at North Monco are students from Perkiomen Valley, Methacton, Wissahickon, and Solderton. The tech school offers 22 different programs to our students in 8 different clusters. They include construction trade, cosmetology, culinary arts, engineering and manufacturing, floral design and landscaping, health and human services, power and transmission, and visual communications. So there's quite a lot of opportunities for our students at the tech school, and over 75% of students who attend tech school also go on to college. So there are many opportunities for our students there. Students who are enrolled in tech school go to a session. Our 10th graders from North Penn go to the AM or morning session, which means they come to North Penn High School regular time and go to first period here, normally biology class. They leave class a little bit early, and because the tech school is right next door to our campus, they walk over to tech school, they go to their courses there, and then they come back to North Penn High School, fourth period, eat lunch, and go to regular classes 5, 6, 7, 8, and ninth period on the days we have it. If the student is in 11th or 12th grade, they go to, they come here in the morning, regular time. They go to first through fifth period here, eat lunch sixth period, go to the tech school, and then come back here. So that's what their day looks like. And it is best, students need to enroll at tech school in either 9th or 10th grade. That's when the opportunity begins for them. Also, remember as you're doing your calculations, if a student attends a tech school session, that counts for 2 credits. So when you calculate on the course selection, it's 2 credits for tech school. Graduation project. This is for parents of class of 2016. The state will still be mandating that students pass a graduation project. The state will no longer mandate it for class of 2017 and beyond. So for those students that are currently juniors, they have 2 options for graduation project. And the biggest thing that they need to remember is graduation project needs to be done and passed so that they can go to prom. That's important to them. The 2 options they have, they can either take a course that has graduation project embedded, and Mrs. Lynn was showing you the little graduation cap next to it, and that means it's part of the class. You have to pass the project, you have to pass the class, and then you completed that requirement, or you can do it independently and present. So remember, that needs to be done, and many of our current juniors are already working on that. Air Force JROTC. We have a progression of 4 different classes that are available to students, and we have 9th graders that start here, and if they start in 9th grade, they can come for these 4 classes. 3 of them are science credits. They earn a science credit, and 1 a social studies credit. Please understand that any student in any grade can take a JROTC class. They can take their first class in JROTC, one of these four, as a junior or a senior. They do not have to be interested in the military. So out at the tables after this session, Major Miller and Chief Sullivan are there because there are some great opportunities with JROTC, including that they can earn college credits at Adams State College in Colorado. So there's information available. Now I'll turn it over to Mr. Nicholson.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Turner. My name is Pete Nicholson. I'm an assistant principal in Home Office K31. I'm going to speak a little bit about dual enrollment and concurrent enrollment this evening. The first slide you'll see is our on-campus dual enrollment. We have two possibilities for your sons and daughters for dual enrollment. That's on-campus and off-campus. You can see here a number of on-campus selections your son or daughter can take while they're here at North Penn High School. They would take this course, they would sit in this course here at the high school, but they would also have the option to enroll with the college or university that you see next to that course for credit in college as well. Every student that is in one of these courses has that opportunity, but your student would not need to enroll in that dual enrollment option if they're in that class. As Mrs. Turner said, JROTC, Adams State College in Colorado would be the option for that. The other option for dual enrollment would be off-campus. This is primarily through Montgomery County Community College. There are applications that are available for your son or daughter to pick up in Home Office D103 here at the high school. It's important to remember that students are responsible for their own tuition and their transportation to and from Montgomery County. And they also need to be proficient by the end of grade 11 on all three Keystone exams. So if you're sitting here and your student's just coming into 10th grade, this is something to remember for the future. Again, Mr. Hines spoke earlier about options as you move forward and options as you become a senior at the high school. And this is one of the options that we have, that you'd be able to earn some college credit while you're still here at the high school. Concurrent enrollment is a bit different. Concurrent enrollment, again, also has, as you can see at the bottom, some proficiency requirements, some credit requirements. 20 credits by the end of junior year. Again, students responsible for tuition and transportation. And basically what a student would do would be enrolled partial day at one of the colleges or universities there. Again, must be proficient on all three Keystone exams by the end of junior year to be a part of this. If you're interested in concurrent enrollment, there is a meeting next Wednesday evening, 7:30, that you can come out and get some more information on that. Also, our career exploration and work study. Again, an option available for seniors. There's academic eligibility requirements for this. There's also, again, and you'll see it as a common thread, we need to make sure we take care of that Keystone proficiency before these options become actual options for your son or daughter in their senior year. Again, students can come to their home offices here at the high school, pick up the applications. They're due no later than March 2nd, so there is some urgency there. If your son or daughter makes the decision to look into some of this, they need to get that process started at some point in the near future. We have about a month or so until those are due. And again, that choice has to be first on the course card, as you can see up there in red. So that's important to remember as they're selecting their courses for next year. They must select that first. Okay, health and physical education. This is pretty straightforward. If your student is in 9th grade, your son or daughter is in 9th grade right now, they're going to be coming here next year in 10th grade. All 10th graders are enrolled in and must select aquatics and health decisions as their health class in sophomore year. In junior year, I should go back. Proficiency requirements, it says, may cause health decisions to be deferred. As you read that, please don't read that as your son or daughter would not have to take health decisions. Based on proficiency, and we've talked about, Mr. Hines, encapsulated 7 period per cycle classes, 8 period per cycle classes, depending on the proficiency on Keystones, we run into a scheduling problem where not all classes can be scheduled in a given year. That health decisions class would not necessarily be on their schedule, but they would be responsible for taking that health class at a later time. All 11th graders take Health and Society as their health class, and they take Lifetime Fitness in 11th grade, PE 11. Again, assuming that everything falls into line. That then opens up in senior year some semester electives. All right, each senior signs up on their course selection for 2 different senior electives. We offer 4: team sports, adventure education, personal fitness, and racket sports. It's very, very important that not only does your son or daughter choose their 2 top choices, but also alternates for this. Mr. Hines, again, earlier spoke about how tight some of our courses are, how tight our scheduling is, and depending on some of the other courses that they schedule in their senior year, some of these, it's awfully hard to schedule. We need to make sure we kind of have a top to bottom choice so they don't get stuck in that course, that phys ed course that they least want. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Mrs. Lynn.
Hello again. Virtual high school, just in case, in the 70-page document that you have there with all the course offerings we have here at North Penn High School, your student can't find something that they want or is looking for something unique that we don't offer, virtual high school is the way to go. It's offered by semesters at both the 4.0 and the 5.0 level, and it is a course that we don't offer here. It's done online with a designated teacher here, but the course instructor could be anywhere in the country. We do offer an AP Environmental Science through this program. It's the only AP course that we offer this way, and that does last for the entire year. As I said, it does occur within the day with one of our instructors, and the student who selects this should be an independent worker with computer skills, because it is primarily the student working in a classroom virtually with another teacher. Their course codes are listed here, and they're also in the program of studies. For a listing of the course offerings, we have a sample in our program of studies, but you can visit the virtual high school website for a more comprehensive list. Now, as we have said, we are moving towards electronic course selection, but for 2 of our 3 middle schools, they still will be using course cards. They will be pink. You may start seeing them in the next few days. Coming up, this just gives you a sample of what the course card will look like. The teachers will make the recommendations on the one side, the students make their recommendations in the center. Hopefully those match, and if not, you'll need to talk with your counselors to walk through that process if there's a difference in leveling. But also, this is where the students will also pick their elective courses. Ultimately, you want to get that total down there to be between 38 and 42 periods. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. Electronic course selection. Mr. Hines talked a little bit about this at the beginning. So for our students moving from 10th to 11th and 11th to 12th grade, there will be no course cards. Our teachers are in the process of making those recommendations in this coming week. Students will be able to have, and parents will have ability to access that through Student Hack from February 6th through the morning of February 13th. That will get turned off at 8 o'clock in the morning. So you'll be able to view what the teachers have recommended, you'll be able to work, and the students will be able to select their elective courses. They will not be able to choose or change levels in English, social studies, math, and science, because that will be based off the teacher recommendation. And if there's a change in level there, the students will need to work through their counselors to do that. We are designating time on the 9th for our juniors in American cultures and our 10th graders on the 10th through their world cultures classes. So there will be a guidance counselor going into each of those classes to walk the students through to make sure they know their password and how to operate that system. And as I said, any changes after February 13th will need to be processed manually through the counselors. The counselors will meet with every student in 10th and 11th grade between now and the end of the school year. Penndale is piloting this, and they're using a very similar model to this that we are. Mr. Hines talked also about no school period 1 and no school period 8. I'm just going to highlight some of those requirements again. It is for seniors only. They need to be proficient on all 3 of the keystones. They must provide their own transportation, and they must select it before they leave in June for the summer, by June 12th. So, a couple last minute things to think about as we've thrown a ton of information at you tonight. For the high school, you must schedule between 38 and 42 periods. For the student that schedules 38, it means they're going to have 4 study halls within their day. Those with 42, they have a complete schedule with no room for a study hall. Really pay attention to the teacher level recommendations. They know your student. They know their ability to produce work, and it should be taken into consideration. We have some students who want to take a full load. They really want to hit a lot of the courses that we offer, but we do remind you it is very important to have lunch daily. We have students that will say, I want to take 8 classes. I don't need lunch. They find out very quickly that 212 is a long day. So keep that in mind. The one thing that cannot be overridden are prerequisites. If there's a prerequisite in that program of studies, your child must meet it to be able to take that course. Mr. Brocksterman had talked about the AP information, but with PSATs, there's an AP predictor. Keep that in mind, and we're going to have some information for our current 10th and 11th graders coming up in the next week. Keep in mind your students' interest as you pick those courses. And lastly, keep in mind the graduation requirements that we had gone over earlier. Any of the courses that require forms, they can be found online at the high school on the website under North Penn information or North Penn High School information. There's a whole course selection section for you. Now that we're moving to online course selection, the verification sheets that you may recall from middle schools that would be sent home or mailed home to you, they will be available online immediately. So anytime a change is made to your students' course requests, you can view that through Student Hack. So that will replace that hard copy verification sheet that you've gotten, but we will make sure we communicate with you your students' choices so that you can meet that June 12th deadline to make any changes. That actually concludes our presentation for the evening. This is where we'll break out to our breakout sessions, but I'll turn it over to Mr. Hines.
Thank you, Mrs. Lynn. At this time, you're welcome to either visit with the department chairs out in the lobby. Parents of current 9th graders are welcome to stay in here for a Q&A session. Parents of current 10th graders are asked to go to the Audion. There'll be a Q&A session for them. Parents of current 11th graders, incoming seniors, can move back to F44, the band room, right here behind the auditorium.